Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan, presenting Tell Me Your Story. And here with us tonight, sharing his story, we have Matty Hayes from Matty Hayes Tottenham Blogs, Ireland's #2 Spurs fan, but Ireland's biggest YouTuber. How are you?
I'm good. I'll debate the Ireland #1 Spurs fan thing, but look, we know that's apparently been settled, so we'll leave it for now. But I'm all good, David. I'm excited to be here, and thanks so much for asking me to take part.
No problem at all. I'm delighted you said yes. Basically, look, the aim of the show, Matty, is just to kind of let people know that the person behind the YouTuber, basically, you know, how they got into supporting the club, things they wouldn't know. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy it. And look, make sure you smash that like and hit that subscribe button. And also get over to Matty Hayes and hit that subscribe button as well. So, look, we're going to get straight into it, Matty. Look, supporting Tottenham, look, we all know it's a roller coaster. It's hard at times. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. But look, I wouldn't change it for anything. But Matty, tell us, how did you get into supporting this great club?
Well, yeah, look, it's a lot of people, when I say I support Spurs, they apologise or offer commiserations. It is, it's always a roller coaster of emotions, the ups and the downs. But look, you have to take them all together. And I started supporting Spurs when I might have been 7 or 8. Like my dad is a Liverpool fan. He's been a lifelong Liverpool fan, and when I was younger, before I could even make my own decisions on what team to support, he's forced the Liverpool jerseys on me. So there are pictures of that out there. But at my communion, one of my uncles is a Spurs fan, and he came up to me and he said, I'll give you £5 if you tell your dad you're a Spurs fan. So I absolutely, 7 years old, 8 years old, whatever it was, we offered a £5. I said I'd do it. And I went up to my dad and I told him I was a Spurs fan, and it just annoyed him so much that I thought it was so funny. I kept on doing it, and I kept on doing it to the point that it actually stuck. And here I am 13 years later, still in love with the club.
Well, look, Matty, welcome to the army, because every Spurs fan has to enjoy being hated, because of course everyone hates Tottenham. It takes a special breed of person to support this club. So welcome to the army, Matty. And that's a great memory. Look, I always say, look, I got into supporting the club through my dad. He used to bring me to games when I used to live over there. He used to bring me down to the park in my Spurs kit to practice. I used to think I was a young David Ginola running around. Do you know what I mean? And look, my uncle is also Tottenham. My grandfather, who's no longer with us on my mother's side, he was Tottenham as well. So everyone in my family more or less is Tottenham. I have cousins that are Tottenham. So we're one big Tottenham family. So, yeah, look, that's how I got into supporting Tottenham. I had no choice. I really had no choice. There's no way I could have came home and said, I'm supporting Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? So I would never got away with it. Not that I'd ever want to support them, but, thank God I didn't, because my life would be made of misery right now. I wouldn't be able to take it. So it's perfect. But look, Matty, one of my earliest memories would be, so I've been to a lot of games. I've discussed other memories on other shows. I don't want it to be the same. I remember sitting there. It was a freezing cold midweek night in the terraces, and to be honest with you, it's one that upsets me, because it was a tight game with Newcastle, and then Nobby Solano cut in and scored a beautiful goal. And look, it's one of the early Spurs memories, and it's one that taught me you're not always going to win in life. Losing hurts, and that's where. Probably when it hurt the most, I became more and more passionate about the club. What's one of your earliest Spurs memories, Mike?
Well, I hope this isn't a consistent trend with the guest you're having on. But my earliest memory is about a defeat as well. Again, my dad, a Liverpool fan myself, at the time, someone who was just saying I was a Spurs fan to annoy him. But I remember it was about 2 weeks after my communion, and Liverpool were playing Tottenham. And for whatever reason, we couldn't watch the game or anything. And I remember coming home from, if we'd been out or something, and we checked the teletext to see what the score in the game was, and Liverpool had beaten Tottenham by 2-1. It was May in 2008, if anyone remembers the game. And there's kind of that feeling of, even though I never would have called myself a Liverpool fan, but if my dad was watching the football and Liverpool scored and he got excited, I was going to get excited as well. He was my dad. Why wouldn't I? So
everyone wants to be their father. Do you know what I mean? Everyone wants to be their father.
Yeah, exactly. And he's still upset that I'm not Liverpool, but it was that first time where he kind of got the feeling where he was overjoyed with the scoreline, and I was on the other side. I was a bit kind of obviously disappointed with it. And it kind of started that rivalry that we still always watch Liverpool and Tottenham when they're playing against each other, and it was kind of the start of that. It's not the typical relationship between a father and son when it comes to soccer, or to football. I apologize, but it's one that we enjoy, and that was kind of the very first memory that I have of Spurs. The first memory I have of watching us play, I don't know if it's actually a real memory or if it's something that I kind of just made up in my head, but I distinctly remember under Harry Redknapp, Roman Pavlyuchenko scoring a header to beat Bolton. Now, I've tried to find the game. I've looked to try and find it.
I think I remember. Oh. Would I be correct in saying we were going through a bit of a goal drought at the time when we had Darren Bent on, and then we took off Darren Bent and brought on Pavlyuchenko? Would I be correct in saying that? No?
It could have been around then, because it was the time when we were like bottom of the table when Harry Redknapp first came in. We had like whatever 2 points after 8 games. And I've tried to find the game, and I can't find a game where Pavlyuchenko scored a winner against Bolton. But I remember him scoring a header against Bolton. So if anyone knows what the game is, put it down in the comments. But yeah, that's the first kind of watching Spurs memory that I have.
Yeah, that's a class memory, Matty. And just back to the with your father, look, that banter and that rivalry is good, especially now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because look, we're 2 top teams. I say the Champions League final for you. Look, I wouldn't say we're the most happiest. I'd say you got some stick that night.
Oh, I did. It was quite painful indeed. We had like a few of my dad's friends were over as well. One was a Liverpool fan, and one was an Everton fan. So the Everton fan was obviously on my side. He the Liverpool fan on his side, and it was such a great thing because we watched the 2 semi-finals together, and like watched the first legs. And of course, they gone horribly wrong. And I remember the week of the second legs. Obviously, Liverpool were playing Barcelona on the Tuesday, and Tottenham were playing Ajax on the Wednesday. And we sat down to watch the Barcelona game, and there was obviously for both of us, we kind of felt, yeah, we're going to see Barcelona in the final. But there was a part to me, it doesn't happen to me very often. I can only remember 2 times actually watching Liverpool and wanting them to win a trophy. And this was probably the first one actually, because the other one is the last day of the season when was it a year and a half ago when City won the league over Liverpool with 99 points. I remember that day kind of feeling, I'd like to see my dad celebrate the Premier League title. But this one, like when Liverpool got their first goal, I was kind of thinking, do you know what? We're not going to be in the Champions League final, so why not get to see Liverpool be there, and have that occasion with my dad. I almost enjoyed that Liverpool win, them kind of getting that 4-0 win. And then we went out for dinner the next night in the pub, watching Tottenham against Ajax, and halftime 2-0 down. And I was thinking, Ajax will beat Liverpool in the final anyway. And then that second half again, it's the only time I've actually seen my dad almost celebrate a Spurs goal. And he's been at White Hart Lane with me 5 or 6 times, and he still wouldn't get out of his seat when we scored. But that game, that last goal went in. He'll probably deny it, but there was a little bit of a celebration.
There was a celebration underneath there.
Oh, it was. Of course, I up that Champions League final, which it was a dreadful day. Like the nerves in the build up to that day were absolutely crazy. And then, of course, in 30 seconds, it was all over because the referee didn't understand the handball rule. But look, we won't get into that. But it was a tough evening.
Yeah, look, and to be honest with you, like my old lad's a Spurs fan, so look, it's something I'll always cherish, being able to sit there and watch my team on the biggest stage walk out a Champions League final with my old lad, to be able to enjoy the game with. And look, whether he supports Liverpool or not, I'm sure it's a memory you both will cherish that ye had with each other as well. Do you know what I mean? And look, that kind of brings me on to my next question. So, Matty, I have 2 reasons why I fell in love with Tottenham. One of them is because whenever I was there, and I used to go when times were bad in the 90s, it was always the noisiest place. It was always rocking, no matter what. We've the best fans in the league, in my opinion. It was always rocking, always in full voice. And the second is, my old lad brought me to a Wimbledon Tottenham game. Now that's how long ago when I used to go with the old lad. And he had a friend who was a Wimbledon fan, and we could only get a ticket in the away section. So of course we went in there. The old lad spent all the time telling me, if we score, don't celebrate. But look, you know what happens when a goal comes in. You can't help yourself. I didn't really understand why, so I just jumped up celebrating, and so did he. And we got so much abuse, and I loved it. You know what I mean? I loved it. And then, they were and sitting there seeing all the abuse they were giving the Tottenham fans. So I just wanted to be in with the Tottenham fans. So look, anyway, they took me out to safety. They rescued me. They took me out the stand, put me in with the home fans. But that's when I fell in love with Tottenham. Matty, what was the moment when you were sitting there and you were like, I love this club?
It's like there's kind of a few moments that I can pinpoint as just these moments where I felt like sheer elation. It was the best thing ever that the Tottenham had done this, or Tottenham had won, or whatever. Of course that Pavlyuchenko moment, if it isn't something I'm just making up in my mind, it would be on that list. And I went to White Hart Lane twice, I suppose, in that kind of year. Would have been maybe late 2008 season, then early 2009 season. and the games were against Portsmouth and Manchester City, and I can't remember which order the games were because I was so young that I don't remember the details or anything. I know we beat Manchester City 2-1, and the player who scored that day was Bajinov, and he scored, and it was like a free kick or long range effort. And like I was in a stand with my dad, and I remember him going over to the crowd after he scored for Manchester City. He came over and he started celebrating in front of the Spurs crowd. And I remember turning to my dad and being like, well, why is he doing that? Why doesn't he go over and celebrate with his own fans? And he said it's because he wants to make you feel bad. He wants to annoy the Spurs fans. And it was that kind of moment that I kind of realized how, like, there's a famous quote where it's like, football, we're not just a club, we're a family. It's not the game, it's our life. That kind of quote. And I realized it really is like the 30, 35, 36,000, however many Spurs fans were in the ground that day. It was really all of us together, like going for that one cause, wanted that one thing to happen. And this one lad does something that makes us all sad. And he wants to go and he wants to put it in our faces as well. In the Portsmouth game, I'm sure a lot of people remember that famous Darren Bent miss in the last minute. It was like 2 yards out and he somehow managed to put it wide. And there's that kind of moment where, it's the devastation when you see that ball going wide is, again, it's all this 35,000 people all feeling the very same emotion. And it's kind of the first thing that showed me the togetherness about football. Because, again, at home, like I didn't have any Spurs friends. It was always, you were at the Liverpool United. Some people were Arsenal, some were Chelsea, but there's no Spurs fans. And like even in my own house, like my dad was a Liverpool fan, my granddad was a Liverpool fan as well. So it was always like me against them. But then when I was at White Hart Lane, there was that kind of feeling of, we're all here together, and I still kind of do get that sort of feeling going to Spurs games, because I don't get to go over too often. When I am there, it's that kind of weird feeling where there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people around me who love this club that I've loved on my own for so long. And even like games that I haven't been at, that Peter Crouch goal at the Etihad to send us through to the Champions League, and David Bentley coming out and pouring the ice bucket over Harry Redknapp. There was Gareth
in his white fronts.
It's those kind of famous moments, that Gareth Bale hat-trick in Milan, the Peter Crouch goal at San Siro in the quarterfinal, or in the round of 16. And even though it's a bad memory, seeing Spurs going out and playing Real Madrid, back in 2011, 2012, whatever it was, even though of course they beat us and Aurelio Gomez humiliated himself, but it's still just those memories of seeing Tottenham kind of on the biggest stage. And of course the players that were at the club, you couldn't help but fall in love with Van der Vaart, Modric, of course Gareth Bale, and even some of the players that were there who, looking back now, were not that good, but still seeing them in that Spurs jersey, you just can't help but fall in love with it. Yeah,
100%. That's a brilliant answer, Matty. Thanks for that. And just on the thing about growing up over here in Ireland with no Spurs fans, I was in the same boat, but I converted one of my best friends, so I wasn't too bad. I had him always by my side. And then, of course, I had a few family members. But, I can only imagine down in Limerick how tough it is trying to find a Spurs fan down there, because look, over here there's a lot of United, a hell of a lot of Liverpool. Even some of the older generation around my area, there'll be a few Leeds. You know what I mean? So we're very few and very few and far between. So for me, when I get over to games, I enjoy it that bit more, because it's like there's so many like-minded people like me. I found my call in life. This is where I belong, surrounded by Spurs fans. You know what I mean? It's great getting over to a game. And actually, just on this topic, Matty, getting over to a game, it's because we don't get to go week in, week out. Like, I know I do anyway. I make the most of it. I'm over there for a 3-day bender. Do you know what I mean? And I just love it. But look, it means so much more to me to be able to get over to see the team and all. And for me, like, just to the season ticket holders out there, just please realise how lucky you are. And really do make the most of the games, and a full voice for 90 minutes. Because Matty, like, how special is it to get to go to a game? Because for me, I haven't booked months in advance, and all I can think about is just getting there and enjoying it. Like,
it's the pinnacle of supporting a football team. And of course, there are those people who are season ticket holders who get over more often, who are lucky to experience that. But when you don't have that, it's every single time. Like, I remember the last time I went over, the games are at Wembley, but even like just driving around London and like passing the stadium and we went to visit it, even just seeing the stadium is that kind of moment where you're taken back, and you kind of realize the magnitude of the club and the stadium itself and everything that the Premier League kind of is. And like, I went over those 2 times when I was maybe 8 or 9, and it was another 6 or 7 years before I actually managed to get back over. And the game I got to after that was we played Everton at White Hart Lane in August of 2015. and it was one of the worst games of football I've ever seen. It finished 0-0. You know, we had a disallowed goal, of course, which we had celebrated, like we know all too well from a recent watch along. And you know, Romelu Lukaku missed the last minute chance, and it was a terrible game. It was a bad result, but it was one of the best days of my life because it was getting back in, and it's the first kind of trip to White Hart Lane that I actually genuinely remember. And like we were sitting right behind the goals where Lukaku actually missed his chance in the second half, and that kind of feeling of like being so close to the players. It's such a different experience watching us on TV and actually being in the ground. And as weird as it sounds, it kind of has an amateurish feeling when you're in the ground, because I don't mean they're worse players than you think, but when you're watching it on TV, it just looks so like professional. And when you're there, you realize they're just people. They're just people running around the pitch kicking the football, but it just has that magic feeling about it. And you know, being involved in the chants, like, you know, I'm often sitting at home on the couch on my own, screaming chants in my father's face, and he's telling me to shut up. Whereas I'm over in the ground and I start to chant, and people are joining in with me, and it's such a very different experience. And it's why I don't like the idea of armchair fans. It's like you'd often see, like, you know, I've got comments like it sometimes on my videos. I don't know if you have, where it's like, oh, I bet you don't even go to the games. You know, you shouldn't get to have an opinion. You're just an armchair fan.
I'm not big enough for that yet, Matty. I don't get that heat yet. I'm not big enough for it.
It's coming soon. Like, I think it's more to be an armchair fan than someone who goes to the ground every time. So I know, look, obviously people who go to the ground they spend a lot of money on it, but again, like it takes a lot to sit down on your couch on your own in your home. And like, you know, there's times when I've been watching Spurs lose 1-0 at home to Fulham, then we go and we lose 1-0 away to Stoke, then we go and we lose 1-0 to Blackburn, and it's a lot harder to do that when you're watching from home on your own. And like, I know we're lucky in a sense that, like, we're not in England, we don't get to go to the games, but we're kind of nearby. And when the games are on, it's at the same time as them. It's like the earliest we'd have a game is 12:30 in the afternoon, or the latest could be 8 o'clock on a Wednesday evening. But there's people who are in America or who are in Australia who are getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning or staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning to watch the games. So I do feel that kind of side of things, we are still a bit lucky that it kind of fits in with our day-to-day stuff. But I don't think there's any such thing as an armchair fan. You're either a fan or you're not, and regardless of where you're from or where you're living, or you know how often you get to games, people we love the club as much as the people who are in the stand singing their lungs out every week. Like,
100%. Look, this term armchair fan, to be honest with you, Matty, I think it's snobbery, because there's a lot of things you have to take into consideration. You have to take in geographical location, okay? Then you have to take in how much it costs to be able to fly over, fly back, you know, get a hotel. Then you're talking your match ticket, you're talking food, you're talking travel. It's not cheap. Like, by the time I do it, just get over for one game, it's a week's wages gone. And then you're talking, like, you have other bills you have to pay, your rent, your electricity, stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And then you have people even further afield in Asia, America, Africa. Again, like, you know, it could cost up to thousands to get to a game. So I hate this term armchair fan. If you're a fan and you're as passionate as I am, by all means, you're a fan to me. Do you know what I mean? That's it. We're all fans. We're all one family. I hate the term armchair fan. I think it's snobbery.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I've been lucky in that I've never had to fund myself going over to games. It's been a few years. It's been almost 2 years since I was there. I think it was February of 2019 when we played Dortmund, or was that 2020? No, yeah, we were in 2019. When we played Dortmund in the Champions League round of 16, and we played Leicester that Sunday as well. I was over at those two games. But whenever I've gone over, it's been a birthday present or a Christmas present for my parents. And like, go back to my dad, he's been to Anfield once in his entire life, and that was to bring me there. He brought me over with my granddad, like, before I actually fell in love with a certain team. He was, but that's the only time he's been to Anfield. Yet he's brought me to White Hart Lane 5, 6, 7 times with the money that he could have spent to get himself over to Anfield. He's brought me to Spurs games, and I'll always be grateful for that, because it's given me that kind of extra love of the club. You know, actually being there and kind of experience that and feeling part of a community, which, like, I know me and you've been so lucky to be able to build a community like that on YouTube, but being there in person, being there in the stadium, it's just such a different experience. And like, I'm saving up as much money as I can now to get over to that new stadium. So I've been outside the stadium, I've been in the stadium shop, and I had a stadium tour booked towards the end of 2019, but I couldn't get over there because of college and stuff. So I haven't actually been in the ground yet. Every cent I'm saving right now is going towards getting over to a match in that stadium and getting a stadium tour, doing the skywalk, and kind of living that whole experience.
Yeah, 100%. I'm the same. I was there when it was being built. I've been in the club shop like you. Haven't been fortunate enough to get over yet. But look, I will get over. And you know, hopefully one day, Matty, we can get to a game together as well. It'd be nice to do. Look, moving on to my next question now, Matty. So look, there's been many great players to play. So look, even you go back over the years with Jimmy Greaves, Ardiles, Hoddle, Waddle, Gascoigne. Then you come into like the 90s, you have Ginola, Klinsmann, you've players like that. Then you come into the 2000s, you have Modric, you have Keane, and you have Lloris there, you have Harry Kane, you have Son now. But who's your favourite player to ever put on that famous, sexy white jersey?
It's such a difficult question. It really is. Like, I can't imagine how difficult it is for people who've been supporting the club for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Like, I've been supporting for like 13, not been a diehard fan for all that time. Like, I was too young to understand everything. And there's just so many players like Raphael van der Vaart. I remember being absolutely heartbroken the day he left the club. Because it was one of those that
everyone I've done this with so far, Matt, has actually brought him up.
Really,
it's madness. Yeah,
it's crazy. He was only at the club for 2 years, which is so easy to forget. But it was one of those transfers that came out of the blue. No one was expecting it, and all of a sudden he's back off to Germany. But I loved watching him play. He loved a goal against Arsenal, which I think would put any Spurs player in the heart of fans. Luka Modric, Luka Modric, just such a talented footballer, and like, of course, what he's gone on to achieve at Real Madrid shows that. Gareth Bale in his prime, I think you'd be crazy if you were a Spurs fan and you didn't appreciate that. Robbie Keane, as an Irish fan, I think I probably should appreciate him a bit more than I did. Like, I still do love him, but I wouldn't put him at the top of my list of players, which I know is a weird one. But and even then going into the era that we've had recently with like Kane, Son, Jan Vertonghen, Moussa Dembele, Hugo Lloris. There's just so many players to pick from, and it is such a difficult one. But
I'll give you two, because I gave we are Tottenham TV too. They couldn't decide, so I want to give you two. I'll be fair.
Okay, that helps a lot. I was stuck between Gareth Bale. Look, we'll say from his first spell at the club, because it hasn't lived up to expectations. The second one, but Gareth Bale, watching him in that season under Andre Villas-Boas, there were so many games that were on the fence. You didn't know which way it was going to go, and Gareth Bale picked up the ball on the right hand side, 30 yards out, and you knew the ball was going into the back of the net. And there's goals that I remember. There was one against West Brom at the Hawthorns when we won 1-0. There's one against Southampton. There's one against Sunderland. There's those goals against Chelsea. The goals against Arsenal. I can't remember a player where there were so many of his goals that I remember so vividly, because so many of them meant so much. Like the one against West Ham, the last minute winner. There was just so many moments that he gave Spurs fans, and like, it's not often about a player that in a game that we lost 4-3 at the San Siro, he still gave us one of the greatest performances we've ever seen in a Spurs jersey. So I think it would be impossible to answer this question and not give him a shout. But since I have two, I'm going to have to go with him as my first one, and then of course Harry Kane, because in the last 5 or 6 years, as we started hitting the pinnacle under Pochettino, even before that, because I remember, like, obviously how much I love the club under Villas-Boas, under Sherwood, but kind of when I didn't think it was possible under Pochettino, my love for the club just grew and grew and grew. And it's the likes of Harry Kane who kind of allowed me to fall in love with the club that much, with the goals he came up with, smashing records. Remember, he was at 2017, he scored the most goals in a calendar year, breaking like a 10-year monopoly held by Messi and Ronaldo. So Harry Kane, he's just, and somehow he's still getting better. You don't know how it's happening, but he's adding so many different dimensions to his game now. So I think Harry Kane has to be given a shout as well. So my two favourite will be Kane and Bale. And if you ask me to pick, I just couldn't.
Yeah, to be honest with you, look, I think I too as well. My first pick, I have to say, would be Luka Modric. I loved him. And then Harry Kane obviously would be my second pick, and then followed closely by Gareth Bale. But talking about Gareth Bale, not only in that 4-3 in San Siro did he put in one of the best plays, but the return leg, he retired a few players that day. Maicon, Walter, Samuel, a couple of players like that in the return leg. He absolutely ripped them. Everyone used to rave about Maicon, and then Gareth Bale ripped him a new one. He was never the same footballer again. He destroyed him. Some of the goals that guy used to score, and like that, he just had that moment where he could just go and win you a game, which, to be honest with you, I don't think we've actually had since. That split moment where you can just create something out of nowhere and get your goal. And then, of course, you have Harry Kane, who, we've been privileged to be able to watch his journey. Do you know what I mean? We've been privileged from his score. First goal, actually, against Shamrock Rovers.
That's something that all the Irish fans always remember.
Yeah, and then, of course, even on the live watch-along, I got robbed of my T-shirt as the first one. I was the first one to put Shamrock Rovers in. I was never getting rid of it. I was never losing that. So I had to prove it to them. I got my T-shirt in the end. But no, look, Harry Kane,
my T-shirt for them right
now. Harry Kane, thoroughly enjoying his journey, and look, hopefully, Matt, he can bring us to greatness. That brings me on to my next question. We're going to talk about managers now. So for me, Martin Jol kind of was the one that, he transformed us into the new age of football, of playing football. And then Harry Redknapp took that on, and then we kind of stalled for a little bit with AVB and Sherwood. Then, of course, Pochettino came in, brought us to new heights altogether. Mm-hmm. And now you have Mourinho carrying it. But you also have Keith Birkinshaw, you have Terry Venables, Graham Roberts. You have other managers like that there knocking about as well. But who's your favourite manager ever?
It has to be Pochettino. It really does, and just because I want to pick it from an era, I suppose that I have watched. Otherwise, of course, Bill Nicholson would probably be the answer. But like, you go back to Pochettino and his first interview as a Spurs manager, and he said, "I'm going to make you proud of this club again." And my God, did he deliver? He didn't bring the silverware, which is always going to be something that Spurs fans will be devastated about. That I'm sure he himself will be devastated about. But the style of football that he brought into the club, and I know it's of course a massive topic of debate at the moment, but just the way he made it, like the best part of the week was watching Spurs. No matter what you did in your week, you were looking forward to sitting down at 3:00 on a Saturday and watching Spurs play. And like the main year would be that 2016-17 at White Hart Lane. You knew every single week, you knew the 11 that were going to be starting the game. You knew how we were going to play. You knew what players were going to perform. You knew just exactly what that team was capable of doing. And on a Saturday, 9 times out of 10, they delivered. And like one of the main features of that season that I remember and I love so much was the amount of games that we won by 4-1. And it's such a weird scoreline, but there were so many games that we killed off in that first half. I remember playing against Stoke and Harry Kane scored the first half hat-trick. We were 4-0 up at half-time. There's games against Bournemouth, there's games against West Brom, and Pochettino was able to give us that, watching that front four of like Kane, of course, up top, and there was Ali, Eriksson, and Son behind him. The ability, the technical prowess of that team was so good, and he had, of course, that midfield with Dembele and Wanyama. I mean, what Spurs fan wouldn't want to go back to that sort of era? And Jan Vertonghen and Alderweireld at the best sitting back there, Rose and Walker, the best fullbacks in the league, and Hugo Lloris, the captain at his best. And it was Pochettino who built that. He came into the club, he ripped out what he didn't want, and he built that himself. And it's so crazy to think the team that started Pochettino's first game in August of 2015, or it was 2014-2015, went on to become that side, that formidable side that so many people were talking about winning the Premier League title, that probably should have won a Premier League title. And it was him, it was his coaching staff. And it wasn't even just what we did on the pitch, it was what we were doing off the pitch. It was, we weren't going into the market, and we weren't spending 150 million pounds every window. I know some Spurs fans are disappointed with, and I towards the end was as well, because it felt we were so close to taking that next step. But the way he did it, the way he conducted himself, the way he brought together the group, he brought together the fans. I mean, like, you've been a Spurs fan for longer than me. I'm not sure any Spurs fan can remember a time when the fans were so united in that we all loved the manager, we all loved the way we were playing, we were all happy with what was going on at the club. And it was all down to him. He really was, and of course he still is such a magic person in what he was able to do. And I think we'll struggle to ever get a manager who can achieve that at the club. I hope he managed to achieve more in terms of silverware, but in terms of what he did in bringing the club to the new stadium, bringing the club to the new facilities, and what he managed to build there. And it's the basis, the platform that I'm sure Jose Mourinho is still working with right now in terms of the staff. Of course, one of Pochettino's sons is still in the youth academy. He just, what he did, what he achieved at the club was so much more than football. And there aren't many people in the world of football who can do that.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, one of the, like, when he came in and he got himself going, and he got his style, his philosophy, his players in, maybe I'd say about a year or two into his tenure, is when I started losing respect for other teams. I wasn't worried about what other oppositions were going to do to us. I was just, and for me, I was so confident going into every game. Every game I thought we could win. Do you know what I mean? And I've never had that feeling before, where every game you were expecting 3 points. And that's the biggest measure I can give the man, that he turned Tottenham around from a team that, we won some, we lost some, the fans being able to come into a stadium and expect 3 points. It's the biggest testament you can give the man. To turn Tottenham Hotspur into a club like that. Do you know what I mean? What a guy. And of course, the Champions League final, bringing us to the greatest stage ever. You know, what a guy. And for me, he's probably not my favourite of all the managers.
Mm.
But I will always respect Poch. And look, this brings me on to my next question, Matty. So for me, look, I have a lot of games I'll always remember. One of them will be the City game. Of course, Peter Crouch's header to get us into Champions League football for the first time ever. That's one that will always stand out in the back of my mind. What's your favourite ever game involving Tottenham?
Again, there's just so many. There really is, like that one of Crouch scoring against Manchester City. You know, because it got us to the Champions League, and what I'm sure was our first time ever. There was that Bale performance in away to Inter Milan against Maicon. There was, you know, a lot of those games kind of throughout the Champions League campaign. There was the one at White Hart Lane when we beat Arsenal 2-0 to finish above them for the first time. Yeah. I don't know how long it was. The last game at White Hart Lane, which I was so lucky to actually be at. But I don't think I can't look past that night in Amsterdam. Again, you know, the kind of the magic of experiencing with my dad and my brother as well, who wasn't even a football fan, but he was there as well. And he knew what was happening, which you know, for a non-football fan, I think does say a lot. But even what happened, like in the game itself, was so magic with Lucas scoring that hat trick. But just my love of Pochettino, I think just trumps a lot of things, and seeing how much it meant to him. You know, the man collapsed on the pitch in tears. And it just felt like, and it still does. It kind of feels like all that pain of like the early years of, or the early kind of year and a half of Pochettino, of AVB, of Tim Sherwood, you know, of our failures in the Champions League in the past, of losing that league to Leicester, losing that league to Chelsea, losing the cup finals against Chelsea. It kind of all felt as like it's worth it now. This is what we've been building towards, and this is what we've been able to achieve. And I don't think there's any sort of football club that will feel that sort of togetherness and that one moment where it's like everything, absolutely everything has been building to this moment. It's building to what we've achieved here tonight. And the way in which it happened, of course, was even so much more special, with having 1 point after 3 games in the group stage, and then somehow PSV getting a result at Inter Milan on the last day. You know, we messed it up against Manchester City after trouncing Dortmund in the round of 16. You know, think we'd lost it in the last second against Manchester City. And somehow VAR came to our rescue. Yeah, and just everything, every little second of that Champions League campaign built up to that moment where Lucas Moura put that ball over the line, and just seeing just the reaction to it, the players, you know, Victor Wanyama, who's out injured, sprinting across the pitch, and then 2 seconds later struggling to walk off it. Just the way he was able to muster that strength. You know, we saw Harry Kane and Davinson Sanchez in the stand; they were injured, but again, they came straight running down to the touchline to celebrate the victory. And you know, Poch collapsing on the pitch, you know, some of the fan cams from the Ajax fans, where you can actually see the Spurs zone, the Spurs fan zone in the stadium, just the elation, everything just erupting. And then even going into Poch's interview afterwards, when he broke down in the interview, just talking about how much it meant. It was it will always be such a magic moment. And I think the one thing that says so much about it is that there are non-Spurs fans who will say to you that was just such an incredible moment, such a magic, memorable moment. So if it means that much to non-Spurs fans, imagine how much it means to Spurs fans who experienced it. Yeah,
100%. Now, funny enough that you mentioned Pochettino breaking down in tears. My old lad was the first one to say, as soon as we got out of the group stage, he was the first one to say to me, I think we're going to the final. But when he seen Pochettino crying on the pitch after the semi-final and in the interview afterwards, he was also the first one to say to me that he thinks the occasion is going to get the best of him and we won't win the game.
Wow.
Now that you brought that up, it's brought that back memory. It's brought that memory back. So, you know, I wish the old lad never said it because it came true. But look, it is what it is, Matty. And look, it brings me on to my next question. There's been a lot of famous goals scored in the Spurs jersey. You go back to you know, Gascoigne's free kick against Arsenal. You have Ricky Villa's famous goal against City in an FA Cup final. You have David Ginola. David Ginola has a reel of them. Harry Kane has a reel of them. Do you know what I mean? Sonny has a reel of them. Even Robbie Keane has a reel of them. Berbatov. There's so many great goals scored in the Spurs jersey. What's your favourite?
Look, I know I keep saying it, but they're just there's so many goals that there was, and you can talk about that. Of course, the Lucas Moura goal, the Peter Crouch goal, but I don't want to keep going back to the same ones that we've mentioned. But of course, Lucas is in with a shout.
What about Wanyama against Liverpool, the one that rattled the net?
Yeah, that was a fantastic goal. But the one I'm going to go with is it's probably a goal that no one will remember. But Danny Rose against Swansea in February 2016, it was the first game that I can remember being at White Hart Lane, and it was the winning goal. Yeah. Lucas Fabianski was in goal that day for Swansea. Former Arsenal player, didn't get the best welcome at the ground. Swansea took an early lead. It was Alberto Pulaski scored the goal for them, and Fabianski, as every mid-table keeper does when they come to White Hart Lane, had an absolute worldie and was plucking saves left, right, and centre out of each top corner. But the Danny Rose goal, it was the winner. Nasser Chadley levelled it up for us, and then Danny Rose scored the winner. And it was a terrible goal. It deflected in off the defender and wrong-footed the goalkeeper. But it was the first time that I was at White Hart Lane, and you just knew. You knew that was the winning goal because it was like with 10 minutes to go.
I was there.
Were you there?
Oh, yeah, I was there with my old lad. Brought him over for his 50th birthday. I was there for that game because we went 1-0 down. I remember sitting here like I was about to apologise to him. I was like, sorry for bringing you of all games this season that we could have gone to. Sorry for bringing you to this. And then, we got the winner, and man, the place erupted. Oh, it did. We were in the running for the league that year with Leicester.
Yeah, I remember the day before sitting in Nando's with my dad, my brother, and some of my family over in England, and Shinji Okazaki scored a last-minute winner for Leicester to beat Norwich 1-0. Whereas if they had drawn that game, we could have gone top of the table that day. But of course, because Leicester got that winner, they didn't. But yeah, we were still in the hunt for the title. It was every single 3 points mattered. If you beat City 3-0,
February,
28th February.
Yeah.
It was just such a weird moment where, because we were in that running for the title, if we beat Arsenal 2-1, if we beat City 2-1, or if we beat Swansea 2-1, every single victory meant the same. And to score that winner after bombarding them for the 80 minutes and not being able to get that breakthrough and finally getting that goal again, even though it was a deflection, but it was just that moment for me, the first time when I could celebrate a goal at White Hart Lane, knowing it meant 3 points for Spurs and such an important 3 points as well.
Yeah, 100%. And come here, what end of the ground were you in? Where we were. Fabianski was up our end of the ground the first half. We gave him absolute pelters.
Yeah, no, I was behind the goal where Danny Rose scored the winner, so it would have been the opposite side. Like I was right up like second, third row behind the goal. Yeah, that was mad. That's
madness. The fact that we were actually both at the same game, that is mad to think about it, lad. That's because I brought me out lad there for his 50th birthday. Yeah, that's mad. Look, that brings me on to my next question, Matty. So, look, for me, this club, it's a way of life. As soon as I get out of bed in the morning, first thing I look is how my club's doing, if anyone's upset them. Do you know what I mean? And then, also what I'd say to you is that the results dictate my mood, basically, until the next game, until we can rectify it. For me, it's a way of life. It's a religion. And the motto inspires me onto great things, on to do different things that I thought I'd never be able to do, to dare is to do. What does this club mean to you?
As cheesy or as cliche as it sounds, everything. Like it really does. Like my life is football. I dream about football. I think about football. I come on camera. I talk about football. I go to work. I analyze football. I come home. I watch football, and I go to sleep thinking about football. Like it really is. It is everything for me. And that love that I have for football. Think of how much the specific club that I love means to me. It's like I'm the same as you, and I'm sure a lot of Spurs fans say the same. The Spurs result dictates how you feel for the week or for the half week, whatever it is before your next game. And like when I first started supporting Spurs, as I said, I didn't have any friends that really supported Spurs. I remember there's one guy that I was kind of friendly with in my class when I was in primary school. It was only for a few months, kind of after I got that love for Spurs. And he said, he was kind of explaining to me what it meant to support Spurs. And I distinctly remember, like, we were sitting on the back of the bus going, I feel, on a school tour or something, and he said to me, "You have to hate Arsenal." And I was really confused. I was like, like, why would I do that? Like me, the little idiot I was, thinking, I kind of like Arsenal. He's like, "No, you have to hate Arsenal." And again, that was one of the moments where I realized how much this actually means to people. And like when I was first supporting Spurs, because we were terrible. We had some good moments. Deep down, we all knew how bad we really were. And it was kind of an element of embarrassment when talking about Spurs, or saying you supported them. Like whenever, as I said, whenever someone asked who you supported, if you said Tottenham, it was kind of like, I'm sorry to hear that, or something like that. But now there's that kind of feeling of, like, I come on here and I talk to 5,000 people because of how much I love Spurs, and because they love it as well. It's that family that it, like you use the word religion, that's exactly what it is. It's more than a sport. And like I often hear about people talking saying, oh, you know, like I support Liverpool, but I'm from this place, so I like them, or I support Man United, but I'm from here, so I kind of follow this local team as well. It's Spurs and no one for me. Like Limerick had a local team that for a while looked like they were kind of good. They've been liquidated since. But like I went to a few games, but like I can never get into it as much as I can when I watch Spurs on the TV. Like I'd rather watch Spurs on a 12-inch TV in the back of my car than going to the ground and watching Limerick play. Which look, I know people around me, but it's just the way it was. And you know, it just really is everything. Like it really is everything. I spend so much time looking into Spurs and looking into, you know, like analyzing their games, looking at the stats, looking at why this player is so good, look why this player wasn't so good, you know, why this manager will be successful for us, why this one won't. And I never tire of it. I really, really don't. And like it's like, as you said a while ago, it takes a special breed of person to actually support Spurs. And I go into work at 9 o'clock in the morning and I get slagged about Spurs until I go home at 5 o'clock. And like I'm surrounded by, you know, it's getting even worse now that Liverpool and United are the two teams at the top of the table. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I would not change it for the world just because of how much the club means to me.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best answers I've had yet, Matty, on that question. Fair play. Just on walking into work, all of a sudden you have that United fan who's been quiet the last 4 years doing his job. All of a sudden now he's piping up. Do you know what I mean? And you know, you kind of forget they were there. You know, like you where have you been the last while? Do you know? But look, saying being on screen, Matty, do you know, talk about Tottenham. This brings me on to my next question. So, look, a lot of people know who you are. A lot of you have a huge following. A lot of people tune in for your transfer videos, your watch-alongs, and you do a great job. You've also helped, inspired and helped people like me, especially me, giving me a dig out with my channel. I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for you. And you are an inspiration to a lot of people. A lot of people look up to you. But what a lot of people might not know is, how did you get into it, and how do you find the journey so far?
Well, first of all, thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate that. I started on YouTube the week before the Champions League final. My first video I uploaded, I think it was the 26th of May 2019, Tottenham Hotspur Transfer Talk episode 1. So I really did start with the transfer videos. It was my first one. I remember the first player I ever talked about was Jack Clark, saying we were probably going to be signing in from Leeds. And like from minute one of Clark, I was a fan. So it was a good place to start. But yeah, like when I was younger, I kind of always wanted to be a teacher. So like when I went into secondary school, all the way up through, I wanted to be a teacher. But in fourth year, in transition year, which for those outside of Ireland is basically just, it's a joke of a year, but there are 2 weeks where he goes experience.
You go in and piss about for the year.
It really is. But I went on work experience in a school and I absolutely hated it. Like I completely hated every second of it. And I kind of got to that point where, well, what do I want to do? And I remember someone saying to me, do what you love. You know, whatever it is, you know, if it's going out cutting people's grass or if it's, you know, going out playing football, whatever it is, do what you love. And I started writing for a Facebook page, which was I think it was called Tottenham Army. It had a decent following, and Shane, who runs the page, I still in contact with him. He's a really good person. And I started writing for them. I started writing for a website called, it was like Extra Time Talk or something. And I started writing for them. I started my own Facebook page. I started a blog, which is where the name Matt Hayes Tottenham blog comes from. It should be a vlog, but it's not. And I started writing, and what kind of happened with that was I realized there's only so much you can say when you're writing, and there's only so long that people will read what you're writing. You know, you could write an 8,000-9,000 word article, but no one's going to read that. No one's going to care enough. And I kind of tired of that, and I kind of put that to the wayside, and I gave up on it. And I was just chatting football with my friends and stuff. And I'd be having discussions with my dad about it because there was no Spurs fan I could talk to that I was friends with. So I'd always talk to my dad about Spurs. And look, as much as he puts up with me and puts up with my crap when it comes to Tottenham, there's only so much of that he can listen to. And like he used to always say to me, you know so much about football, you know the stats, you know what you're talking about, you love talking about it. Why don't you go on YouTube, like talk to the camera and let other people listen to it? And I said, never in a million years. I don't have the confidence. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the know-how. I'm never going to do that. And there's one week before the Champions League final, I was just sitting there and I was just bored. I was like, look, I'll go up and record a video. And I got my laptop, my cheap little laptop, recorded it with the built-in webcam and the built-in microphone, sitting on my bed, the laptop on my knees, and recorded. Well, in hindsight, it was a terrible, terrible video, but I look at it as one of my best videos because it's the reason that I'm still doing this today. It's the reason that I started. And look, there have been times when I wouldn't say given up, but I've kind of stopped with the YouTube. You know, it's something I've spoken to you about, David, with, I get a lot of views in the transfer window because it's what a lot of people want to hear about. because
Yeah.
it's news, it's facts. Whereas at times when it's come down to me sitting here talking about, drawing 1-1 away to West Brom, not many people really want to hear about it. So my views kind of at the first transfer window died down a bit. And, for me, because I didn't know too much about YouTube, like I should have known that people want to hear more about certain things and other things. I thought, oh, well, people are sick of me now. I shouldn't do this anymore. So I gave up for a couple of months and I didn't upload anything. Then I came back in the January window of 2020. Yeah. And I started uploading again and I got views and I was enjoying it. And then the window closed and I stopped getting views and people weren't listening to my match reviews or my predicted lineup videos and stuff like that. And for last summer, I was living out with friends in a kind of student place in Limerick. And there was a good 4 or 5 months where I didn't upload a single video. And then I came back last August, the 31st of August last year, and I uploaded a video on Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and Matt Doherty, kind of talk about how I think they're good signings and looking at if you could be signing in the future. And I've been going ever since, and I haven't looked back ever since because, as bad as it sounds, the situation that we're in kind of now has brought people together. It's brought a lot of people together on YouTube. And like my videos are always me and just me. You might find 2 or 3 videos on my channel before kind of this period where I had other people on, and it was me recording a video and sending it to them and them recording a video in return rather than like we are here kind of talking to each other. And it was then when I started getting other people in my videos. I saw you on We Are Tottenham TV and I thought I have to get him on my channel. He knows what he's talking about. And I got you in, I got Marcelo, I got other Spurs fans, I got fans of opposition clubs. And it's when there's that discussion on screen rather than me talking to you through a camera is when a lot of people started to enjoy it a bit more and they started to get more engaged. And I was doing live streams as people having their own discussions in the comments and they were able to ask us questions. And that's the best move I've made on my channel because, without, blowing my own, talking myself up, my views have skyrocketed since then. In the last 4 weeks, it's been the best 4 weeks of my channel and things are just getting better and better. And I'm loving every second of it. And I think what the people kind of watching wouldn't realize sometimes, David, is it's a lot more than sitting down, recording a video and uploading it. There's a whole, that's like, for me, I'd say that's 5% of the work. In terms of what I do in trying to make this work, and when it pays off, it is such a good feeling, and I'm really loving the YouTube right now. And I haven't said it on my channel yet because I don't kind of want to jinx it, but the ultimate goal for me is for this to be my full-time job. And I know it's going to take a lot, and it's going to take a lot of people supporting me and people backing me and kind of putting their faith in me or putting their trust in me. But I think it's something that I am able to do, and that's what I want. If it's 2 months down the line, or if it's 20 years down the line, whatever it is, full-time YouTube is what I want to make of my life. Because don't get me wrong, I have an incredible job right now. I know a lot of people might know about it, but I work for Opta. I'm like a football analyst, and I love that. But there's not many things I love more than that. But sitting down here and talking about Tottenham with people like David, with people like We Are Tottenham TV, with Charlie, with Marcelo, with the Podspur team from America that I do stuff with sometimes. It's so much better. It doesn't feel like a job. Even when I'm sitting here and I'm working on the search engine optimization for my videos, or I'm trying to make a thumbnail, even though I don't particularly enjoy that, it doesn't feel like a job. But when you start getting it back, when you start getting your, start earning that bit of ad revenue, it really starts to pay off. And I'm really loving every second of it. And if this can be what I do for a living, I couldn't ask for much better.
Yeah, 100%. And Matt, there's no bigger backer than me. I've often said it to you. If anyone can do it and make a living out of this, it's you. And the best thing you ever done for me, and I'm sure for your 5K followers, everyone else that knows who you are, the best thing what you've done is come back and give us the content. Give us the transfer window videos. So a big thank you to you, Matty. And as well, I owe you a lot. I owe you a lot. You've helped me so much out with my channel. To be honest with you, without you, I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be able to interview you. Do you know what I mean? You taught me everything about how to get it up and running. You made me my intro videos. You showed me everything to try and help me improve my channel. You've even given up your time to come onto my channel. For someone like me with very little subscribers, the same as We Are Tottenham TV, it's amazing. So I want to say a big personal thank you to you, why I have you here as well, because honestly, I wouldn't be doing it without you. So I want you to know and take that. So next time you ever do think about giving up, don't do it, because there's so much good you're doing at the minute, especially for Tottenham fan base. So personally, I want to say keep it up. And I want to say to everyone, make sure you get over to Matty Hayes Tottenham Blogs and subscribe. The man works so hard. Not only does he work a full-time job, he puts so much time and effort in behind the scenes to give you the best content the man could possibly give you. So make sure you get your backing in behind him and help this guy follow his dream. And I want to say thank you, Matty, because you've helped me follow my dream. And this brings me on to my last question. It's my favorite question to finish on. what's your most cherished Spurs memory? What's the memory that sticks here in your heart that you'll never forget, and you're always glad you have?
First of all, thank you so much for those kind words, David. I really do appreciate that, and I fully appreciate and really love all the support. I do appreciate that, honestly, so much. My most cherished Spurs memory, it's probably the only question you gave me that I can say straight away, this is the answer. Walking out of White Hart Lane for the last time after beating Manchester United 2-1, and just before I went down those steps, I turned around and I just looked at it once more. And it's one of the most vivid memories I have of White Hart Lane, of anything to do with Tottenham, of any Spurs, any football, almost anything in life. Just walking down those steps, and all the fans had just been coming off the pitch. There were still some in their seats, going through the choruses of "Glory, Glory, Tottenham Hotspur." Yeah. And just looking back that one last time, and just seeing the pitch, seeing the stands, seeing the banners around the pitch saying "To Dares to Do" and all that. It's something I wish I could do again, of course, and I'm sure there are a lot of Spurs fans who would do anything to step inside White Hart Lane one more time. But just that last moment of looking at that ground and taking it all in one last time, it's something I'll never forget.
Brilliant. What a memory to end on, mate. What a memory. I want to say thank you so much for coming on and doing this. I really enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And I'm sure everyone else is going to really enjoy this. You gave us a good insight into everything, really. How you became a YouTuber, your Spurs, how you end up getting into it. It's been brilliant. So thank you very much. And to everyone else out there watching, I hope you really enjoyed this week's show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you smash that like button as well. And hit that notification button. It's important, because you get a notification every time an episode of this segment, new episode of this segment comes out. So make sure you hit that subscribe. I'm on a big push for 1K. Make sure you get off to Matty Hayes Tottenham blog. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and help him follow his dream. You want 6K by the end of January. And if anyone can do it, I know the Harris Army can do it. So thank you to the Harris Army for watching, and anyone else for tuning in. In Jaws we trust. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.